Hi, I'm Iona Davies, and today I'm going to be doing the artist takeover. So most people know me from Artcore. I'm a project coordinator there, but my background is also photography. So I'm going to tell you a bit about what I do as a photographer as well. So first of all, I'm from Northumberland, Berwick-upon-Tweed, which is the most northern town in England, and a lot of my photography has been taken up there. I particularly like the area because there's a lot of what's the word? It's very scenic, and a lot of my work is night photography. And with night photography, a lot of the time you need dark scenes, and Northumberland doesn't have all that much light pollution in comparison to, say, other counties. However, I do quite like, I can show you in a bit, using the light pollution within my work just to see different colours coming through, which you wouldn't see with the naked eye. First of all, I first started getting into photography. Well, both my parents are artists. My dad's a photographer and filmmaker, and my mum was a graphic designer, and now she's stained glass. So I've always been around art, but it was not really until sixth form. So when I was doing sixth form, I was convinced I was going to do graphic design, but then I took photography as a module, and I've just found some of my first sketchbooks before. So here's some big sketchbooks which I did at college. So I went to Newcastle College in Newcastle, and even then you can kind of see I was starting to do sort of night photography. This was in Berwick. This particular one, this was just years ago. It was contrasting busy London to calm Northumberland. But that was another example here. I really like that one. And also some calm sea there. But basically, when I started doing A-level photography, I actually realised that I was really enjoying it. It was the first time I went into the darkroom as well, because they never let us use the darkroom at school. So it was really good, and then I ended up getting 98% on my A-level photography, so I kind of decided to go on from there. I did also do an art foundation as well, so I did test it out first to see what I'd like the most, but photography ended up being what I liked the most, I suppose. So from there, I went to Plymouth University. So I went as far away as I could. I went 9 hours from Berwick-upon-Tweed. And again, it was quite again, it was next to the sea, which I liked, and it was fairly quiet. So it was quite good again for taking night shots and night photography. So most of my photography, as I've just mentioned, was at night, or is at night. I like to basically, so this is an example, and it was the one that I put on to the Facebook as well. But basically I like to experiment with long exposures. I usually use bulb setting. I don't use like a minute or so. A lot of my photography can be up to about 3 to 10 minutes. And then I kind of run around like mad with either a flash gun or lights, or even, you know, these kind of LED lights that you can stick in places. Like for instance, within this pillbox, I stuck lights inside it, and then I've used the flash gun to like run around at the front to illuminate it. So I'm kind of taking the idea from the opposite of the film technique, Day for Night, sorry, where they used to shoot night scenes at in the day to save money, I suppose, and it was harder to film at the time. I'm kind of doing the opposite and photographing in the nighttime, but illuminating things that you may not be able to see. This, if you're wondering where that line is, that is a train. As I was saying before about the light pollution, this section here, which is orange and coming across, is actually light pollution coming in from Berwick-upon-Tweed. And if you can't really see it that great, but you can see that there's star trails as well. I quite enjoy taking pictures of star trails. They're quite cool. I do have another cool example with, it was a 10-minute exposure. If I've got it in here, which was, here we go. So this is Lindisfarne Castle. I had some massive lights for this particular one. This wasn't just LED lights. So I used these massive set lights to illuminate the castle, and you can see here, this is actually the moon, but over 10 minutes, it's kind of made it go like that. Thank you, Natasha, by the way. Yeah, where am I going from there? Yeah, so I also, I did do an MA as well. I'll go back to some of my work in a minute, which was at Nottingham Trent University. The kind of main piece from that, I have got a picture somewhere. Again, it was to do with the night, but it was to do with females in the night. Oh my gosh, you can't really see, sorry, it's got a film on it. But that was an example of that. And I did go on to study school direct, PGCE in secondary art and design. I ended up not really liking teaching, but I'm glad I did it because it then got me into doing things like adult teaching as well. So I did a bit of adult teaching at Derby College, and also after teaching, my my next job was at Trent College in Long Eaton, and I was a photography technician there. So when I was there, I did spend most of my time in a darkroom, mostly developing films, so developing medium format or 35mm black and white films. And also I would kind of experiment. I would help the kids, or not kids, they were more sixth formers, experiment with different techniques, teach them how to do medium format cameras. And I would do quite a bit of, for the younger children, I would do a lot of darkroom techniques. So we would, I've got a few examples here. So these are some of my own kind of examples of just experimenting with photograms. So for instance, I've layered pictures. So these ones were done in a enlarger, but we also, when I was teaching at Trent College as a photography technician, I would do a lot of it just using a torch in the dark room. And that was quite interesting because a lot of the kids had, they'd never seen a negative before, and it was quite cool if you didn't tell them what you were going to be doing, and you just gave them this sheet of paper in the dark and said, place your items on and then flash the torch, because they would then be like, what we're doing. But then as soon as you put it through the chemicals, the picture would come up and they were really excited by seeing images appear from, like, in front of their eyes, basically. I do have some examples as well. So this was actually burning negatives. So if you use kind of like a hairdryer kind of or heat guns, you can burn negatives and twist them, which is quite cool. And these are some examples that the kids at Trent College did. So these were double exposures. So the first, this particular one is chemical painting. So they did the first exposure, and then all they did after that was instead of putting the paper straight into the chemical tray, they would literally get a paintbrush and like flick bits on or paint it on. And it was quite a cool thing because part of the image comes up, but not all of it does. But this is the double exposure one. So it's they've taken two different pictures, negatives, and then put them through that way, and done one exposure, done the double exposure, and then put it through the chemicals that way. There was another example which looks really cool. Oh yeah, so what we'd do is we'd put their heads on the floor. So the first exposure, this is again another double exposure. So the first exposure would put loads of different materials down. You can see but it was telling them getting them to think about what would work. So the opaque kind of things so plastic, glasses and things like that. And then from there, once the first exposure had been done, they'd then put their head on the sheet of paper, and their partner, whoever they were working with, would then take an exposure of that, and then they'd put it through the chemicals again. We did some massive ones as well, so we did these huge, I got these huge tanks, and we'd get people to lie completely down on the floor, and have a few people exposing different areas at once, and then you get a whole body on this sheet of paper, which was quite a cool thing. They quite enjoyed doing that as well. Photographers that have inspired me throughout, I suppose, my work. Gregory Cruisden, he does a lot of kind of fixed scenes. Again, quite a lot of them are at twilight, and he uses a lot of lighting, and they're quite dramatic scenes. I can never pronounce this correctly. Ruth Blaise Luxembourg. She photographs around London, and she actually did a commission for London Underground, and basically all of her stuff's at night as well, but she was using things like puddles to get part of the underground sign, like the reflection of there, and then she'd do that for particular undergrounds, which was a really good project. But she does a lot of night photography sort of stuff, setting up around the city. So a bit different from what I do, but I really like her work. Her work's cool too. Artist-wise as well, Nighthawking, I always get the name wrong. Nighthawking's Edward Hooper, the one where they're in the diner, and they're all kind of sat there and looking at different things at twilight time. I really like that one as well. Again, the whole idea of using the night and the fact that people are in there but they're not really talking to each other and what's going on, sort of thing. If I was to do a commission with someone, if it was not commission, if I was collaborating with someone, I think, again, one of my favourite photographers is Ruth Blaise Luxembourg. It would be really cool, I think, if I had ever had the chance to collaborate with, because her work is more urban and mine's more kind of in the landscape, so it would be cool to kind of somehow make that work. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. I have done some collaborations though with different companies. I've done some stuff for the Berwick Film and Media Arts Festival. Here is an example of, I'm afraid the page is breaking a bit, but this is the Royal Border Bridge. This is actually about 4 or 5 different photographs, which I've then stitched together in Photoshop. Again, that's a train going along the top. and I've got a few other pictures in this one as well. But for this, I was kind of looking for scenes. There we go. So this festival was the North by Northeast Festival. A lot of it was kind of based around the sea as well. This was the front cover for that one. I did actually do some film stills as well for that project, which I think I have in here. Yeah, so I did some film stills for that particular project. It was a film commission, and I was doing some film stills for that. And also that year, for another film commission, again taken to the night photography. Here are a few film stills from that. So I'm just going to go on to what my first exhibition was. There was a collaboration with some of my other students at University of Plymouth, and we did an exhibition called Brink, and we did that at the Strand Gallery in London, on the Strand. There were about 10 of us, so not all of the whole university group did it. It was selected, and we had a really nice opening there, and it was nice to have a proper exhibition. As I've said, from there I've kind of gone on to do more photography through work rather than doing my own. But I think with this situation that we're in at the moment, I'm going to see what I can do within the garden, because with less people driving around and less companies putting pollution everywhere, I feel like there's probably going to be the best time to do some clear skies. So I'm going to see what I can do from my garden. So I'm going to take advantage of that and do some of my own work. And yeah, I think that's probably about it, I think. Hope that you enjoyed listening about my work. Does anyone have any questions before I go? No? So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. And tomorrow, Connie will be doing the artist takeover. I do have my hashtag somewhere. Artist takeover. Connie will be here, and she'll be talking about her set designs. So tune in tomorrow again from 4 o'clock and listen all about her work as well. Thank you. Bye.